I know. I always look so ridiculous because you never listen to phrase screen record in progress.
Oh,
Hi, everyone. My name is Rita Gidio. I am here hosting the Influential Creatrix, and I'm super excited. I always ask my guests to present herself. And I know because we chat already, we have a lot of things that we can learn with you. But please take your Yeti mic and tell us who you are and what you do.
thank you, Rita. I'm Onna Lo. I'm Dr. Onna Lo. I'm an integrative medicine doctor from California, from San Francisco area, California. My mission is to empower, engage, and get women excited and to become embodied in their body. And it started off with a journey of me being a family doctor who wanted to do deliveries, who wanted to do women's health, get women back in our body while we're doing deliveries, while we're taking care of ourselves. So a big part of me is very scientific and system oriented. I'm a functional medicine doctor who looks at root cause medicine. People come to me and they say, I've got all these issues, my tests are normal, how come I don't feel better? And I wanted to look for that answer, and that's how I got into functional medicine. But over time, I realized that quest took me into it being about teaching women to learn about their body better, or men, right? But women learn about the body better and understanding how our genetics, our environment, our relationships, our community, our nutrition actually have such an impact on the root cause of our health. And over time, I then became even more intrigued, realizing stress is a huge part of why women, men, everyone's sick. And so a big part is me teaching mind-body medicine and teaching meditation. And then over time, I realized all of the patients who've gotten better still gets burned out and still, emotionally and physically. And that's how I came across becoming a high performance coach, which is also a very systematic way of understanding us, but in a form, in the mindset, right? First is the body, and then it's, the nervous system, and now it's the mindset, and being able to help women find a more clear mindset of what actually ultimately brings us to that burnout mindset. And it concludes, I empower women and I help women become more embodied.
Wow. I I had three natural births. How do you say birth? So I birthed three times naturally, and I cannot go anywhere without asking you something. How powerful is the moment then someone gives birth? What was it was something that you enjoy when you, I don't know if you keep doing that, how do you say that, guidance?
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
helping women labor, right? Being
yes.
the being present. I think that's really the term. Is it's being present for a woman's birth, because woman's going to have that baby regardless of who's there, except for that very few percentage of a complicated birth. I think that's what most women, when I was doing deliveries, and any for a long time I actually practiced out of hospital birthing medicine, where I still take care of pregnant lady, and I would have the blessing of actually sending women to the hospital, so I don't have to wake up while I have children myself. I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night at baby do deliveries. But in that birthing present practice, and just even doing any of the women's procedures, it is really actually humbling to realize women, if they can understand their own breath, if they tap into their amazing abilities of their natural womanhood, they're powerful. They're powerful. I had myself two natural births, so I also see it from the other end, and I've been supported by amazing midwives, and all they did was just remind myself to be in my body and be in my own innate power.
So beautiful. And I feel then we lost it a little bit. We lost it on the occidental world. And it's really interesting because I had kids, I had I had pregnancies and kids in Portugal where the mentality is hospital, and I was like 19. They start the labor, and my body was not ready. The baby was not ready, and it was like a full nightmare. To be in Amsterdam, where the conscience is totally different, and so it's super interesting. What is your why? How you became a doctor? How you develop all these other skills and all these other abilities than you have? What is the story behind?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I would say I'm from Hong Kong myself, and and then I went to school in the States, United States of America. I knew I wanted to be a doctor when I was young. I actually was helping my family volunteer in a temple, and they had these massaging sessions for elderly to kind of volunteer. And just by being, putting my hands on, ailing old person, I actually was so interested in what was happening, and I knew I wanted to know more. I was just always curious. The body always just was very intriguing to me. It was very inviting. I feel like it's like someone look out in the sky and they see stars and they're curious about what's out there. I'm curious about what the story of the body has to tell us. So I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. But the motivation to get into this level of learning, the kind of, out of the box integrated medicine, always asking why not, always asking why not the other. It's because of my own journey. I was sick a lot. I was super type A. I was super competitive. So I was a perfectionist. And I end up seeing a lot of patients in the last 15 years who are similar, who actually get burnout. So I was an early case of burnout. Even when I was in elementary school, middle school, I was sick so much. I had migraines. I had terrible periods. I had asthma. I would always, skip school. Even in college, I had to take 6 months from school because of severe migraines. And what happened was all the medicines didn't help. The diagnosis didn't help. They told me I had migraines, but nothing helped, right? And so I take medicines that made me feel worse. I have asthma, and I take medicine. It makes me feel even more drowsy. It makes me feel even more, agitated, and I don't feel better. And so that's the quest that drives me to say, well, why do all this medicine if I can't feel better? And that's how I started, by learning to be a better meditator, better at actually stress management. But it was not until I found functional medicine, which helped me look at the food allergies, look at underlying infections, look at my genetics, and look at my family's pattern of autoimmunity, for me to finally say, this is the university of myself that I studied in the last 30 years. I finally understand how to empower myself, how to live my body well. And it's such a journey that functional medicine has opened up for me. And it's been very rewarding.
Can you explain to someone who don't know what is function? My English today.
Functional medicine.
Functional medicine. Can you explain to?
Absolutely. Yeah, the way I actually start off by saying people, though, I always say I'm a family doctor by heart, which means that when you see me, I just wanted to take care of the person as a whole. And functional medicine is just one of the tools, just like coaching, just like meditation, just like nutrition. And functional medicine is a way of thinking. It's a way of asking questions, right? Kind of how like you interview all your wonderful podcast guests. It's like you have a system, you think systematically how to break it down to get to know the person and get to share a bit more about the information. So functional medicine is a way to actually look at a person and say, we're not just individual tree branches of issues, right? If you have headaches, you go to a neurologist. You have skin issues, you go to a dermatologist. If you need to get pregnant, you go to a OBGYN. Turns out we're not just all leaves of a tree branch. We are all related in the tree trunk. There are systems within the tree trunk, right? There's the hormone, the way our cell, break down, the cell detox. There's the way our gut absorb nutrition, right? How we actually how build little cells, how we generate energy in our cells. So all of those functions work in every part of our body. And by looking at the tree trunk, that's functional medicine, to say, let's ask the deeper questions of how the machinery works. But foundationally, though, all of medicine is still looking back at the root cause, right? The roots, the soil, right? How our nutrition is, our lifestyle is, our relationship is, our sleep, our movement, all of those foundations are also key. But when functional medicine is a way to actually frame and understand and break down a different way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. And tell me how you are doing the bridge between seeing people in person and going to the digital world.
Yeah. I think that when I think about the digital world, I actually love it. I think about it being because it's not going anywhere, right? It's here to stay. So I think about it being it's an opportunity for me to engage people I work with even more multidimensionally. Because right, like when you think about old days when you go to a doctor or you get help, you get to a mentor or a coach. It's more a one-on-one relationship. But when you're in a digital world, all of a sudden you have all of these tools. You have, I can talk to somebody and we can just quickly go on. How often are you secretly, when you're talking to someone, you actually secretly type in something in your phone and you try to look up something, right? So I utilize that, right? I think there's an honesty, there's a transparency, and there's a like I actually have a lot of joy in actually bringing that and say, hey, let's just use what you're seeing. What are you looking at together? And actually, and actually use it as a teaching moment to teach them how to actually engage all of this information. Especially most people come to me, it's information overload, right? How often people look at Dr. Google and they freak out because it's just all these really scary pictures or already scary.
Yes.
And then the second part is I've been running groups for 15 years, and even in residency, chronic pain groups, depression groups, and mindfulness groups. And I find the power of harnessing the power of community, being there to hear each other, being present for each other, just like the midwife, right? Just like being someone there to help you through your birth. It's very powerful and something that a doctor cannot replace. I think a coach cannot replace. Just someone being there, not necessarily doing something for you, but just being there and witnessing. And I think the digital world has allowed for that ease. You can log on anywhere. You don't have to all take a bus, drive, get somewhere through traffic to be together. And so it is a way to kind of counter that loneliness people feel from the isolation of too much information or digital world, is by actually reminding that we can use it as a tool.
Oh yeah, 100% with you. I always think then it's very normal in our world, in special people who work more the spiritual part, the spiritual coaches, they have values that don't align with Instagram, for example. And I always like to say, then stop seeing Instagram has millions of followers, but see Instagram has the car, then you drive to arrive to your patients, to your person, to your coach. So I love the definition that you are giving or how you are explaining. What can people learn with you now? Like if they want to, with what can you help them? If I arrive to you, tell me what tools do you have? What can you help me with?
Yeah. I would say now, after, doing the kind of medicine I've been doing for 15 years, I would say my specialty is probably preventing and reversing burnout, emotional and physical burnout. I myself, being an empath, being an intuitive, it took me a while to kind of out myself, right? Because I am a medical doctor and it's hard to kind of even be able to talk about, the deeper, how energy is affected by others people's energy and cause illness, right? In my medical world. But I think what I've come to become really good at is actually helping people through their own journey of health and healing, identify and learn really well who they are, what's their genetic makeup through their patterns, what's their physical makeup, the metabolism, right? I call it the 4 M's. It's about your metabolism, it's about your mindset, it's about your movements, and it's about your mind body. And so being able to have somebody come and be in a place of distress or a place of interest in getting better or optimizing their health or wellness or success and not get burnout, I break it down to those four things, which is, what are some foundational metabolism that you can, nutrition, way of living, form of eating that is unique to you that would serve you. And what's the mindset, right? How do you create that framework of clarity? How do you create that framework of courage, right? How often it's hard for people to say no, and that's why they burn out. How often it's because they feel immense responsibility for people they love, and they cannot find that balance of how to create space for both and allow both of them to thrive, and not seeing it be scarce, but seeing it be an abundance opportunity. And then the mind body, right? How do you actually calm down the nervous system, right? We're in the go, 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 especially if you're perfectionist type A, we're always go, go, go and want more, right? We're driven by success rather than driven by happiness, right? And so how do we, turn back and calm down our nervous system? How do we re-educate our nervous system? And lastly, movement, right? It's not just the external movement of how our body moves, how we move joyfully, how we move our body in the world, but internally, right? Like, how do we move our bowels? How do we move our toxins? How do we, move the feelings and emotions that goes through? And recently, with the groups in the digital world, as you mentioned, is the final one's matrix, right? How do we create community? How do we leverage people around us to create that kind of environment that we can thrive in?
Super interesting. I want to do a question because I know some people are going to ask. And to be honest, I don't think I have the full definition, even if I believe I'm one of them. When you talk about empaths, what are you talking exactly? Because it's such an interesting thing who have been coming up so more now, and I don't have a correct answer, and I'm super curious to know, because the next question is, with what people do you work? So yeah. What is empath?
I love that you want to hone down on that. So usually how I help people identify as empaths is I start by asking questions, right? Are you somebody, when you walk into the room, you can feel the room that's beyond, that's beyond what you see, the five senses, right? Beyond just what you see, what you hear, it's your body has a sensation. You can kind of, that you are feeling a different energy, but you walk into a room, you feel different. How many, of you actually, when you go to a party, you tend to drive alone because you want the option of leaving on your own? How many of you actually, feel people's pain or feel people's, emotional, how they feel within yourself? It's a little bit different from what we call highly sensitive people. Highly sensitive people are people who, can hear more sensitively, feel, see, and, but an empath can feel beyond what you can see. So you can feel other people's emotions. Sometimes empaths can be dream empaths. They can have dreams about other people. They can be, they have really close relationship with animals, and they can feel the feelings of animals. Sometimes they can hear a little bit deeper of words that are not spoken in people. So there's just a deeper layer. It's almost like a sixth sense. There are many theories of how people become empaths. One of them is actually, a lot of them are actually scientific in that, is it that we're more turned on in our mirroring genes? We're able to actually have a different kind of neuron response that receive differently. So we receive extra signals. People who grew up in a different culture and then move to a different culture can sometimes develop that empath because they have used that sixth sense, right? Beyond the language, they have to pick up a little bit more different their environment. So they have a little bit more heightened way of experiencing the world around them and receive information that way.
I have a question for you. I grew up in a different culture. I grew up in Africa, so that makes all sense for me. I have a thing. I cannot go to places where I know, where I feel, it's not even I know, but sometimes up front, then pain was there. And I'm meaning places as Anne's Frank house, torture museum, that is a thing that I don't even understand how it exists, or a camp, you know, I cannot handle to arrive to a house. I know, I feel it, the sadness, the heaviness, and I always felt very weird with that. But now that you are talking about, I felt have certain logical. It's like
Yeah.
you have another extra frequency, then you can observe extra information around you, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's very common actually. People actually, right? Like if you go to a hospital, actually the reason how I started knowing that I'm an empath is I was in my emergency room rotation, and I would go in these 2 a.m., shifts. And when people who are really injured come in, I would actually just have a tear that would come out, even though I'm not actually feeling anything. I would have these moments of tears falling. And then, or there are times when people really, going through a lot of distress, my heart would have this feeling of almost being shaken. And I eventually realized there's a term in Buddhist term. It's called, I can't remember that word, but it actually means your heart shaken in the presence of suffering, or your compassion in the in the presence of suffering. And I just had that moment of feeling and realizing my body's actually really just connected to the other person or the world around me. But in that piece of understanding more, I've become, part of my quest is how to become a more empowered empath, right? There are simple tricks, right? Empaths are always ones who actually recharge really well in nature, right? They do really well when they have an animal friend. Water is a huge piece, being able to drink water, being able to soak, get in a hot tub, being able to take a nice shower, swim, get in the ocean, live near the oceans. But more so now, one of my journey itself, you see, where I cover my head was early on. It was when I realized by simply creating a little cranial pressure and covering my head with a soft cotton cloth for myself, it's actually really created me to have a different bandwidth and a different way to frame and relate with the pain or relate with those situations. So just like you, I used to have a list of things I don't do, a place I don't go, but now I feel, by eating healthy, balancing my blood sugars, right? Empaths really need to balance their blood sugars. Being able to have protein.
Why they need to balance? I'm very curious because my blood sugar is totally imbalanced on the last couple.
Do you get hangry when you miss a meal?
Oh,
do
not
people in
exactly, but I have an emotional connection with sugar for my childhood. So I grew up without sweets because I grew up in Africa, a tiny island with no, it was not possible to arrive anything. And my grandma, when I was with her, she always brought me chocolate milk with cookies after I brush my teeth. That makes no sense. But for me, when I feel, and this is something that I feel it. So when I feel that I'm out of balance, then I'm anxious, then I'm unsure, I go to sugar, to the cookies, and to not to the milk, and I don't drink milk anymore, but I go looking for that. So I'm curious to know how that impacts our life, because I deeply believe if I'm not empath, I'm something like that. So just sorry to interrupt you. I'm curious now.
Yeah. So I think that's, I think if I were to describe what's an environment that empath really thrive in and how to become more embodied and feel more steady and grounded. If I say those words, have you experienced that as an empath? Or times when you feel grounded, steady, and embodied, and you've got it, right? You're like power woman. It comes from your heart, right?
Yeah.
And turns out that is what embodies means is that your heart, your brain, your gut, and your body is aligned, but also feel all of it. It's not in fight or flight. So empaths, because of that sensitivity or that ability to sense more, what does it mean? It means you have this unique ability to find situations that could be stressful or dangerous, and you're more likely to be able to get into a fight or flight situation, right? Because you can actually protect yourself better. It's a very natural, innate ability, and a a good quality that empaths has is that they can read the room, they can know when there's danger, and they can get ready and fight or flight, right? And so as a result, anything that actually causes the body to be in a fight or flight state is more likely to trigger the empath to go into that cycle of fight or flight. So there's two things that happens. Empaths either A, gets more likely triggered into that fight or flight, or B, they're in this fight or flight. It's hard for them to calm down and get off the fight or flight trail. Does that make sense so far?
Totally, especially
And
because
then
tell me.
And then the blood sugar is one of the most common. So when I actually work with, actually even most women, I think that's the number one thing I teach. I'm starting a 4-week online, women's vitality coaching program. And that's the first thing I teach on the first month is to get off, to just start feeling that, is to understand what you eat, how you eat, and the timing you eat actually directly triggers that fight or flight, right? Because if you think about it, humans have this, it's just, you say, very emotional relationship with food. And so, and as you say, when you are in that stressful state, you're in the fight or flight, people sometimes go to food for it. And so being able to actually understand and break it down and understand the physiology of stress and say, okay, there's something going on that's triggering my stress, and then now I can choose to how to serve that stress. Then you can understand if I can, then choose to continue it by the habit of continuing on that fight or flight journey with this blood sugar up and down when we eat, refined carbs, or when we eat added sugars, even diet sugars. It actually makes our blood sugar hike up real fast. And it's not the hiking up real fast that makes us stress. It's actually when it drops. When our body does it, works and makes your blood sugar drop, that drop is what makes us feel really uncomfortable. It make us feel foggy brain, feel irritated, right? You probably have a partner that has that. You're always carrying something, a snack, because if you wait too long in line for food, they get really upset or irritated, or maybe that's you. But it's that drop that makes us have that, oh my goodness, my blood sugar's low. I'm going to go into survival mode. I'm going to go into fight or flight. And that's why that balance in that blood sugar and just planning your day, planning your life, understanding that is so key in actually the foundation of calming your nervous system.
Wow. Do you want to talk about your 4 weeks challenge? What is coming?
Yeah. So this is a long time dream coming. It's a 4-week program online course called Women's Vitality Reset. It includes those 4 elements, and it includes, really helping you reset your metabolism, understanding your hormones. It helps you, tap into the mind body, really understand the physiology of stress, so you know what to do to reverse it. You know what to do to calm down the nervous system and not be anxious, to sleep, finally restore and sleep better. And it works on the mindset, right? So often as people talk about, I don't get motivated. I know I should do it, but I don't get motivated. I feel like I feel like I'm just resisting all these changes like a baby with a tantrum. How often, be like, I just don't want it. I want my sugar, I want to be, I want to, and just be resistant. And so turns out, with all of those elements put back together, and I've built it into a simple mission every day, for busy women, busy professional women, busy business women, busy amazing women leaders who are out there taking care of their family, taking care of their team. Just 15 minutes to 20 minutes and you get done. So that's my satisfaction in working with people. The worst thing to do is you feel like you piled on another project, you bought another course and you can't finish it. So the goal of this is that every day you feel like you got done. You tap the button, you're like, I completed something. And it's that competent confidence, right? You're like, oh, I just did it. I'm going to have confidence. I'm going to be able to do it again tomorrow. And then as you become more confident, you then have more competence. And then that's the success model of a high performer.
Oh, it's great. And where can people find you? How can we reach out to you? What offers do you have now? And if you live around the world, how can they work with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So my website is onnalomd.com. So it's ONNALOMD, like medical doctor.com. I am a medical doctor licensed in California. So if you live in California, you can work with me as a functional medicine doctor and, work with me in finding root cause. I have gotten I have a coaching license, and I actually have I coach women and all over the world, and that's, not limited to California. So if you want to work with me, you're an empath, or you're someone who wants to actually, you're at the juncture now, you're ready, and you want to just move into the next direction as an empath, you want to become more embodied, empowered, and energized, that's how you can work with me. I'm launching this coaching this Saturday. So if anyone's is interested, you should look me on the website under offerings, or just simply send me an email. And the information's there, support@onnalomd.com, and I will send you information.
What are your dreams for the future, for your coachees, for your people? What's
Yes.
the future?
I love that. There's this book called The Red Tent. I dream of a community of empowered, intuitive, energized women. I just believe that, being a mother myself, having daughters, if every woman is empowered and given all the tools to be healthy, to be energetic, to have joy, and to be confident in this world, all over the world, in all parts, I believe this world can be such a beautiful, better place. And I want to give that tool to every woman. And so that's my dream. Either it's through coaching, either it's giving them a healthier outlook, giving them tools to frame the problems at hand, or giving them tools to feel calm and deeply rest at night. That's what I have to offer.
Nice. If you had the possibility to go back in time and just say one phrase to your young self 10 years ago, what did you thought?
Set the price in front of me. I think being a type A perfectionist empath, I think impatience was my biggest problem, and faith. So in some ways, if I set every day I wake up, and the beautiful words I set for myself is being confident, remember abundance, have faith, and live in ease. And there are days that I might forget, I might get flustered, I might not believe I'm worthy of those. But if I just keep my eye on that price, I've everything is possible.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I think we are all, if we are not going Google all the things that you live with us, I think you open a lot of doors and possibilities for people who don't have the same knowledge, or they feel weird and they don't know why. And I feel that many people are getting in contact with that weird, and it was what I say, I cannot talk English today. No, that weirdness, how do you say it? It's just, we feel, many of us are feeling that we can do more. We have special abilities. We just think, oh my God, if I start researching this, everyone is going to say that I'm crazy.
Well, one of a very typical feeling that empaths have is that they feel like they are from a different planet. They're just waiting to be picked up. Have you felt that way before?
Yes.
That you're just 100%. And over time, it becomes a feeling. It's really about longing to belong. And I realize, is I now can call myself a very, I feel empowered. I feel really grateful of all the wonderful opportunities and the people in my lives, the guides. I feel empowered. And then with the practice I have, eating healthy and doing my best and, being in my body, I realize the feeling of longing to belong stays when I feel strong and I feel healthy, when I feel connected and I feel committed with my own body and caring for it and loving it. And so I think that's a wonderful realization for myself too.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rita.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And go to the world and have this beautiful 4 weeks challenge. And then maybe we can talk in a few months and know what didn't happen and how many empaths you are helping and how is your community growing. I will keep an eye. I'm very interested in what you are doing. And thank you. Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Rita. I am honored.
Thank you. I'm going to say bye to the podcast and then say bye to you properly. Bye-bye, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, to like, to comment, to tell if you are an empath or if you are curious to know more, and reach out. And maybe it's time for you to go in a 4 weeks challenge. Why not? Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, wait.